Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh no, is my camera not going to come up? So, hello everyone. How are you doing? God, my hair is messy. I had it up in a ponytail all day. I tend to wear a ponytail at work, and as you can tell, I haven't changed from work. Still in my work clothes. Let's do the YouTuber stuff and then we will get started. So if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, I would super appreciate it. We are slowly but surely, don't call me Shirley, building an audience. Yes, I am dating myself, but there's very little better than Airplane, a movie that could not get made today because, as Karen DeSowen says, we need to get a helmet. You can follow me on X Twitter as Karen Ann Harlos. I have a good time on Twitter. I'd love for you to come and have a good time with me. And I am a follow back girl. And last but not least, please consider supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. This is very niche content. Believe me, I am not raking in the sweet YouTube bucks. This is not the type of content that does it. Speaking of the type of content that does, it is absolutely crazy. Like, I'm watching and following this Sniper Wolf stuff. How in the world does just freebooting videos and not really doing a real reaction or any kind of commentary make someone a multi-million dollars? Like, there is just no justice in the world. And then you get away with doxing somebody, which is showing up at their house, super crazy. Anyway, those of you who are not really caught up in the YouTube ecosystem will have no idea what I'm talking about. So we're going to get right to it. We're running out of month. We're obviously not going to be able to do the whole issue. So we are, I don't like when my necklaces are hiding. So we are just picking out articles of whatever strikes my fancy and also looking up some news articles. But today I had said we were going to start with tool chest for LP activists. Because what's so interesting whenever I see articles like this from the 70s is even though the technology has changed, the methods are still the same. And this particular article has old books in it. And I'm wondering, I've got notes for a different show on the back here. These are notes from, I got my autonomic liberalism and emancipation is all on the back there. That's going to distract me, so I'm going to put that down over here. So there's some old books mentioned in this article, and I'm wondering how useful some of them might be today. Even though, again, the technology changes, I wonder if there's some wisdom we can mine in these, because the sorts of things of just basic political work is evergreen. So let's take a look at this article and see what it has to say. It says, listed below is a selection of books on various important aspects of political activism. I was just seeing, just taking a look. Sorry, it's like, look, a bird. It says they range from general how-to books on the mechanics of setting up and running a campaign to more specialized works on specific issues. All of them are important and merit your careful attention. Also listed are 2 classic works on advertising that come highly recommended. So let's see. The first one is from Stephen C. Shadegg, and I can give anyone this info. You could actually go look it up on Lpedia. This is the September-October 1975 LP News if you want to get like the exact spelling of some of these names. So this book is How to Win an Election from 1964. Speaking of just, I haven't shown you guys this in a while. I need to do a show on this eventually. This is put out by the government, and I forgot what year, but it's Action Course in Practical Politics, and I think it's from the 60s, and it's a complete set of the books. I even forgot where I got this from. I'm going to see if I can find the date on this again. 1969. So I bet you there's some good stuff in here as well, and the flyer and everything is in here. So one day we've got to go through this. I keep saying that, and I forget it. I forget it's in the drawer here. Let me get back in your little binder. Okay. So it says of How to Win an Election, this is the all-time classic on the ins and outs of running a political campaign. Maybe we should get this book and see what it has to say. Although poorly organized, okay, so fair warning, the book is poorly organized. It can easily be read in several hours and is an excellent way to introduce yourself to professionalism in the political arena. Next is William Murphy and Edward Shire. Vote Power. How to Work for the Person You Want Elected. Oh, so it's a campaign volunteer book. The particular value of this book lies in its emphasis on congressional races and grassroots volunteer activity. In addition, it has good chapters on voter registration, budgeting campaigns, and propaganda. Highly recommended. You know, we might need to get some of these. I think this could be fun. Ted Klein and Fred Danzig, How to Be Heard, Making the Media Work for You. This work comprehensively examines the many ways in which you can effectively publicize libertarian campaigns. Included are tested strategies and techniques for enlisting the help of all branches of the media, television, radio, newspapers, magazines, and wire services. Examples of properly prepared media releases are given. This could be useful even today. Very few people today can write a good media release. Let me tell you something. If you're doing this, shame on you. I'm going to tell you what it is in a minute. And plenty of my friends are doing this, so yeah. Here's some friendly fire. Do not have ChatGPT write your press releases. For multiple reasons. While it may be passable, it will lack the human fire and spirit. And you are not training yourself for literally propaganda if you can't do it yourself. If you are in a state party and you are the media person, it is incumbent upon you to gain these skills and not try to use AI to get it through you. We're dumbing ourselves down purposely. Skynet is coming. Resist. Okay. Let's see here. Handling interviews and the news conferences is also handled. And the final chapter is Those Who Made It, which discusses some successful media campaigns and how they were managed. Kenneth P. Norwick, Lobbying for Freedom, A Citizen's Guide to Fighting Censorship at the State Level. Although designed primarily as a handbook for fighting censorship laws, this book gives an excellent account of how state legislatures work and provides good tactical insight into the lobbying process. The background material on censorship laws is quite well done. It would be interesting to see how those changed. The book contains model letters to the editor. That can be useful. Sample testimony, press releases, and examples of similar public relations tools. Next, Chester Atkins, Barry Hock, and Bob Martin, Getting Elected, a guide to winning state and local office. This general guide to running a political campaign is written with an emphasis on the needs of a candidate with a shoestring budget and an amateur staff. In other words, libertarians. Gotcha. The low-cost techniques described are ideal for municipal, county, regional, and state legislature campaigns. Next, Edward Schwartzman, Campaign Craftsmanship, a professional's guide to campaigning for elective office. This detailed work treats the whole range of areas that must be attended to in a properly run campaign. Included are specialized topics as using telephones and handling an opponent's dirty tricks. The section on political advertising is well illustrated. Next, Swing. Somebody's first name is Swing. Swing D. Meyer. Who names their kid Swing? That's weird. The Winning Candidate. A general survey that can be quickly absorbed of how to run a campaign. Such matters as handling the media and using direct mail are covered. Claude Hopkins, Scientific Advertising. Claude Hopkins wrote this book in 1923. It details the principles and guidelines he used to become the most successful copywriter of his time and the highest paid of any time. This is an informative, enjoyable book to read. Okay, sounds good. Next, Rosser Reeves, Reality and Advertising. Considered by many to be advertising's greatest classic, it has been translated into 12 languages and has been published in 21 separate editions. This is an excellent introduction to the advertising field and will assist you in your understanding of the important role advertising plays in running a political campaign. And then there's just a bit of news at the end here. On September 25th, the Federal Communications Commission, reversing a 15-year-old policy, ruled that radio and TV broadcasts of candidates' news conferences and political debates will no longer automatically mandate equal time access for all their opponents. This ruling is to be applauded since it is a further deregulation of the broadcast media. But for LP candidates, it means that achieving the status of a serious contender whose news conferences are worth covering or who holds newsworthy debates is more important than ever. I really love what was said at the end here. I'm going to give what might seem like a bizarre example. When I advocate for RCB, some people come at me and go, yeah, but there's no proof that libertarian candidates do better under RCB. As if what we have to support, we need to be mercenary and unprincipled in the way the old parties are. That you don't examine something and say this is better. You examine it and go, what's in it for me? whether or not it's better. And I just don't operate that way. I don't know if there's enough data to even say that there's no proof that Libertarian candidates would do better under RCB. All I know is that RCB is fairer. And if we're going to have voting, I'd rather have a fairer system, whether it benefits the LP or not. It's to our shame if we can't succeed in a more fair system. So same thing here. The Libertarian position is to be against regulation of the media. But that obviously was a position against our own self-interest, because if there's a law that mandates equal time for opponents, well, I could see how Libertarian candidates would end up in all the debates and whatever there might be. But mandating that sort of thing is not really Libertarian. So they took a principled position here and just said, well, work harder. I would add to that, because work harder doesn't always help, say, make your own media then. And that's what alternative media is doing. But I think we need to examine that sort of thing. And I know a lot of people disagree with me. And I'm not claiming that anyone who holds contrary position in this or in voting is not libertarian or anything like that. We just come at things differently, and I'm amenable to being persuaded. But, there are some things like, if you're a Christian, you know that there's something called ruining your witness, that you'd almost suffer loss in order to keep your witness credible to the world. I do think we have to be concerned about ruining our libertarian witness. Of course, that's not a suicide pact, but I do think it's a weighty factor. And that is one reason, it's not the only reason, why I'm opposed to taking the government welfare money, no matter what vote percentage we get. That will completely ruin our witness. Ayn Rand is criticized to this day for taking Social Security payments. She paid into it her whole life. I don't think it was dirty at all for her to take Social Security payments, but the fact is she could have afforded not to, and that is ruining her witness to this day. So that is something to consider. It's not the only thing to consider, but it certainly is something to consider. Now, there's a lot of other reasons to be against taking the federal welfare check, but that is certainly one of the reasons. And a more pragmatic reason that Harry Brown said, he said, I'll get far more dollars in advertising from the fact that I refused it than I could buy if I took it. And that's an absolute fact. But there's all kinds of strings attached to it as well. And if we don't have the infrastructure in place yet and really good anti-takeover provisions, ever wonder what happened to the Reform Party? The minute you start getting guaranteed millions of dollars in, the vultures come along with it. And that money does not go to the National Party. That's what a lot of people don't understand. They go, well, wouldn't you love the LNC to have, whatever, $6 million check or whatever it might be? Yeah, but it doesn't go to the LNC. It goes to the candidate. So you have somebody who looks towards next term and goes, maybe I'll try to get the Libertarian nomination. I'd like that $6 million. Campaign payments and things can be super corrupt, and money can get filtered and laundered through it very well. I'm not claiming any position in what I'm going to mention next. I'm just going to say the accusations were made that there was funny business that went on in Gary Johnson's 2016 campaign with how some of his campaign staff was paid. He was in trouble with the FEC. Whether there is any grounds to it or not, I don't know. But I do know the opportunity is there. And we should not be putting out a pot of honey for the fire ants. Not unless you want your ass to get stung. So, again, there are good libertarians that disagree, but as we all saw on Twitter, if you were following me a couple months ago, one reason they were disagreeing is like, oh, we want the 5% so we can get major party status. And I'm like, have you even looked that up? Because you don't get major party status with 5%. Let me tell you something. You're not going to like this. But we aren't even considered nationally a minor party. 5% will get you minor party status, which we already thought we had, but we don't, because we're using that term less precisely, and we're also using that term in the context of state laws. National party status is different than what your state party might be. There are certain state parties where the LP has achieved major party status because they have different requirements. In order to get national major party status, you need 25%. And if we ever got it, they'd just raise that. It's a losing game to try to get statist approval. Change can happen rapidly, and you don't have to compromise principles for it. Now, am I claiming that the candidate in Argentina is a perfect candidate? No. Some of the foreign policy positions I don't agree with. But oh my God, what a leap forward. If libertarianism is going to succeed in America, it's going to happen like that. It's going to happen suddenly and quickly. Now, that doesn't mean I do not approve of making incremental steps where we can, because that's laying the groundwork for the last jump. You have to continually be moving the football, but it's going to be a Hail Mary at the end. All right, I think that's going to be it for tonight. We are coming up on, 20, 25 minutes, and I do try to keep these shows short. I think I'm going to pick up some of these books. Wayne's just like, oh my God, you and your book collection. When I moved here from Florida, I think I donated 40 Bankers boxes worth of books. They weren't political books. They were research books that I had in order to write my commentary on Matthew 24, and I just knew I wasn't going to read them again, so I donated them. But I was constantly just buying eschatology books, and now I'm constantly just buying libertarian books or books on practical politics. Okay, that will be it for this evening. Not sure what... if I'm going to do a show tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I am. But what it will be on. Kind of itching to get back to some more Matt Walsh. I do have a Matt Walsh video. Oh, and just a little preview. This isn't really politics, but I am planning on doing a critique of the phenomena of online documentary / exposés, which have become just a really lucrative category on YouTube, and I do think they are very, very ripe for abuse, and there's one in particular that I wanted to use as an example. And this channel that I'm going to be critiquing, at least slightly, because it's a channel that I like, is actually criticizing somebody I don't like. But I think most of you know that I am harshest on the way people I would normally agree with criticize the people that they disagree with. Because if you give a bad argument, you could end up not having the opportunity to present the argument again, like I critiqued Mason Maniga, his critique of Christian nationalism. I just thought wasn't very good. And it's an important subject, and we need to be giving good rebuttals. All right, I hope you all have an awesome evening, and probably see you tomorrow. Mi guapas de Libertad.
Given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians, or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because they want to